Welcome to the Mom and podcast. We're your hosts, Suzanne Kearns
and Missy Stevens. We want to help you through everything that happens in the ellipses, from your professional life to your emotional health.
You're a mom and so much more. Let's figure out what comes next together. Welcome to the Mom and podcast. I'm Suzanne Kearns, mom and writer, LGBTQ and sex ed advocate, and today preparing to be a mom of 2 teenagers. My son is turning 13 on Friday. No more babies
So
in the
exciting.
house. I know it.
And then you get those charming teenage people. They really are the best, but at times they are also not.
Oh my God, he still is like the heart and soul of a 10-year-old. And I'm just counting the days for when we wake up and he's like, bleh. But so far so good.
You get called
yeah,
bruh.
Yeah. Oh my God.
All right. I'm Missy Stevens, mom and writer, foster child advocate. And this week, owner of some fancy new footwear because I am in a lovely boot thanks to a stress fracture in my foot.
Oh, man.
It's been a rough fall for feet in the Stevens family.
That's right. How's your son's foot?
It's getting so much better, like almost healed. He had a nasty infection, Jenny.
Oh gosh.
It's a long story, but a diving board incident at swim practice led to a gross infection. So it's finally on the good track to healing. So we're done with feet.
Good.
You're almost done with feet.
Almost done with feet.
Exactly.
Just get out of this boot. No more feet problems in our house.
I'm knocking on wood.
So, well, on today's show, back for her 3rd appearance. Like, you're the leader, I believe, in our race to the 5-Timers Club, like the SNL 5-Timers Club.
Excellent. I didn't know there was a race, but it's nice to be in the lead.
I didn't know there was either. Today I looked at it and I'm like, all right, Jenny's winning. And I think we need jackets like Saturday Night Live has. And our guest is Jenny Remington. And we're going to link to all of her other appearances in our show notes. Go listen to those. But for those of you who have not met her before, Jenny is a professionally trained coach and certified coach with the International Coach Federation. She has empowered hundreds of professionals, entrepreneurs, and parents to reignite their career, discover their path, or realign their life. Jenny's mission is to boost happiness and positivity, create a strong vision, nurture inner strength, and to live mindfully. Jenny has a gift for bridging the personal with the professional, and personal self-care becomes a part of most clients' growth through the coaching relationship. Her style is direct and compassionate, focused on listening and guiding her clients to trust their compass. She is in love with her life and work and wants that same passion and enthusiasm for each person she coaches. Welcome, Jenny.
Thanks for having me back, guys. So I guess I behaved well enough to come back. So here we are again.
I know. I told Missy, I was like, I need my Jenny fix. Bring her back. I need her.
Yeah, we would need you to fix us.
Nope, that's not how it works, my friends. But we'll talk about that. But that's not how it works.
Dang it. Oh my gosh. Well, since you've been on the show before, instead of doing your Jenny 101, we'll redirect people to past episodes where they can do that. Maybe you can do a little bit of a Jenny catch up. You know, we talk about self-care a lot here, and you have quite a story around it. So could you catch us up?
Sure, I sure do. And it's funny because, you know, when I was looking back and kind of reflecting on the times that you've had me on the podcast, I have yet to talk about self-care. It's one of the things I talk about most often. So I'm super excited to talk to you about it today. And yeah, I got a really good dose of myself this time last year over Labor Day weekend in 2021. I took a surfboard to the face and got a concussion. So that's wake surfing, which is different than wakeboarding. So in wake surfing, you are not attached to the board. For those 40 somethings who have not yet been pulled behind a boat, let me just give you a quick education. The surfboard is not attached to you, which meant that when I fell off very gracefully, I'm sure, the surfboard hit me and gave me a concussion along with 20 plus stitches. The ER doctor said he lost count. So we know it was at least 20. So right across my eyebrow. Wow. So I didn't know it at the time, but the years that I have spent in my business, coaching women and men, but a lot of times it's women and especially mothers on self-care, really prepared me for a completely unplanned, unexpected, unwelcome, thank you very much, pause. because when you are caring for yourself after an injury, especially something like a brain injury, a lot of things just fall away. You cannot juggle the carpool, you can't do all of
Mm-mm.
the extras fall away.
Yeah.
And so I really got a chance to practice and walk the walk of self-care. And it was a 12-week recovery all in all, which was pretty
I mean, that's a
significant. And
long time. Yes.
it's a stinking long time. And I
Yeah.
did some things to really help myself in the process, and we can talk about that maybe later. But it really became essential for me to care for my brain and my body in my heart, especially because what was unique about this experience for me that was not necessarily the same for all concussions, like a sports concussion where a soccer ball bonks a head, there might not be trauma with that experience. So the recovery is
Mm.
physical. My experience of being in the water, bleeding, missing the boat, not knowing where the boat was because I got
Oh,
so turned around, and the
oh,
experience of a very long boat ride in a really distressed state with my kids there added trauma upon trauma for us.
Yes.
oh
So
boy. Yeah.
it was it was something, like, just thinking about it, it's giving me goosebumps. It was
I just had a
the
little.
the worst day, the worst day for all 4 of us, and me not being able to one of the real important things that I learned was I couldn't pretend, that I was okay.
Oh, oh, that's
Yes.
big.
And so much of the things that I am coaching women on, especially around their self-care, is we're pretending like things are okay. We're spinning the plates, keeping things moving. And in one part of my brain, I thought I could hear myself saying, "You should probably stop screaming." Like
Oh
I knew there was
god.
a part of me observing that thought, and I couldn't. I didn't have access to the part of me to calm down. So what
Wow.
I ended up doing, one of our friends was with us and swam me back to the boat, and I was patting him as he's swimming me. I
You're
started patting him the way you might pat a baby, the way I patted my 2
Oh.
babies, like in
Mhm.
a little 1, 2, 3 pattern. He's fine. He's calm. He's
Oh.
swimming the crazy, bleeding person. And
Right.
I was doing my primal response to calm down in that moment. And I
Wow.
was trying to get back to myself of you want to calm
Uh-huh.
down, you want to do this. And it started a very long, very deep, very different self-care discovery process. It's almost like everything that I had learned, it took me 3 layers deeper regarding self-care, and I really gave myself the space and time to heal and recover. And man, I must say I have like the best job in the world to be able to be teaching women and
Yeah.
coaching women on self-care. So when I sent a note to my self-care group and said, "Hey, I've had this accident." I actually had to get help writing it because I wasn't able to do it at the time. I sent a note and said, what self-care looks like is me pausing this work with you and coming back when I'm ready for it."
Mhm.
And the response was very loving, as you might expect.
Yes.
Um, I, a lot of people know how to respond to someone else in crisis, but the feedback I got for months and months after working with these same women was that moment of pause. I cannot do this, and I must take care of myself first. I wasn't trying to show, I wasn't trying to say, "Do this
Yeah.
when you get
Yes.
overwhelmed."
Emulate
But
me.
it really turned into a really powerful moment for me, and I heard from them that it was helpful to just even have someone show them what it looks like to say, "I've had enough. I cannot do anymore."
Yeah.
The
And
empathy
so
that creates for, I mean, you now have another layer of experience that you can help your clients with. Prior to that, you might have had sympathy for them if they were going through something similar, but now you really have this deep empathy. And you've mentioned having to pause, and we've talked about pausing careers before, but we really haven't talked about it in this sense of we at times need to push the pause button on everything. But why are we so conditioned to fight that and not want to do it? And how can we learn to accept the pause button when we most need it?
it's a great question, and I think it really depends on the person and the place of life. So for me, if you had asked me that question last year, I
Mhm.
might
Yeah.
have said, tune into your heart, tune into your body. Now, that is still true.
Sure.
That is still true. But there are whispers of distress and there are whispers of overwhelm that we often ignore.
Mhm.
And so, if we are not going to take care of ourselves in the moments when the whispers show up, we sometimes get forced to take care of ourselves when the crisis shows up.
Yeah.
Not that I wasn't paying attention to my body and that it came, the surfboard came to me
Right.
because of that. I'm not saying
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
but I am saying that sometimes we aren't able to pay attention until it shows up and then it is time. It's go time. Or actually, it's pause time.
It's go
It's
time on
pause.
pausing.
It's go time on
Go
pausing,
to
right.
pause.
So yeah, I think that, it's still true that we have to tune in and listen. Why don't we? It's a great question. Sometimes I think it could be a hustle, like I'm the
Mhm.
mom. Who else is gonna do this if I don't? So
Right.
I think that's some of it. That's probably a lot of it. But I think also we're really motivated by what we produce, how we show up in the
Really
world. I think it can kind of outsize our actual need to contribute what we meaningfully want to contribute to the world because of the hustle that we're trying to
Mhm.
do day to
Mhm.
day.
Mm.
Oh, and I just think it's so powerful that you had the opportunity. Well, it's kind of an opportunity. You're forced to do it, but
Bring it.
to model that for your clients. I mean, just
And
walking
your
the walk of
kids.
that and your kids. And I'm still so fascinated. I didn't realize that your kids were there for your injury. And I've had not nearly as dramatic as that, although my husband may argue. I've had a couple of times where on flights, my vestibular issues kicked in
Mm,
and I mean, in full force, mommy was down, like for the
yeah.
I mean, these poor security people at the airports I'm at, and you can't even fake it. Kind of like when you were injured, could not fake it. I could not fake that I was not like exorcist vomiting everywhere and that
Mhm.
I could not make, polite conversation with the nice man who was pushing my wheelchair and whatever. It's just like
Right.
you go into pure survival mode
Primal.
and
It
it
is
is
primal.
super, super primal. And yes, I'm a, kind of the same thing. Like I was probably mentally like patting the kids, like, oh, are you okay? But it was very much just like, how am I going to get myself out of this
Mhm.
situation? And oh,
And it's interesting to me that you're like, you could hear a voice saying, you need to stop screaming because we are conditioned to like, you need to calm down for your kids or you need to put on a brave face. And at that moment, thank goodness you couldn't access your whatever you needed to stop. Like you needed to scream.
yeah. We're so conditioned to be like, mommy's okay. Like literally, you could be bleeding from your head or,
Oh, yeah.
I said those exact words to my now 13-year-old son. I was holding the towel
Your
to my
skin
head,
to your head.
bleeding, and I was like, "It's okay, buddy." And he through his tears, he was like, "I know you think you have to say that, but
oh,
you're not okay." And I was like and I just wasn't able to give any more input. I was like, "He's right.
Right.
He's
I'm
right."
not. None of this is
Yeah.
okay.
None of this is
yes.
okay. So, yeah, I really appreciate that because, there was quite a bit of shame, honestly, around not showing up as the mother, who can
Mm,
keep it all together. Like, I'm good in an emergency. I've told people that, and that is a
me
true
too.
fact until I am the one in struggle.
Right.
Um,
Yes.
and so yeah, that was a real difficult that was part of my trauma and recovery, honestly, was not showing up as their mother, showing up as a human who was in very deep distress.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that was part of the emotional healing work that I had to do on top of just the physical recovery of a
Yeah.
concussion.
Yeah. We had the physical manifestations, mine much less life-threatening. But I think that there's so many people who just because you can't see it or there isn't some external manifestation of that
Mhm.
trauma,
Hmm.
that it doesn't get the attention, that it doesn't, you can't be screaming just because it's the emotional trauma. And it's almost as silly to be feeling like you are forced to pretend like, yeah, mom's okay, just because you're not bleeding out of your head. I mean, it might be
Right.
some emotional trauma that you're going through, or yeah, there's just so much pressure to have that together. But
Yeah.
I am very hopeful that many of our listeners are not going through the as significant of trauma physically or
Right.
mentally that you had to go through. But I do think that we do have these little and medium battles that we're facing every day.
Hmm.
And there's so much value to having this time and taking this time, and this mini retreat program that you've put together is such a perfect way to blend the self-care and the enrichment. And I would love for you to share a little bit about your recent writers retreat and talking about
Yes.
how it is often difficult or impossible to get away.
Yes. Yeah. Just this last week. It had been in the works for a while because I'm sure, like a lot of your listeners and both you two, it's hard to just unplug from family life. But after the past year, or we could look back the last 2.5 years,
Right.
things have been pretty intense in my body. And being a coach and a mother and a caregiver, and just the person I am in the world, I hadn't created space for myself in a long time. And just I'm literally fresh off of a retreat I went to this weekend, which was a writer's retreat, and it gave me the exact pause I needed to be with myself, cope with the emotional, physical, and even the logistical part of being in my life.
Hmm.
Literally, my husband was
It's a
trying
lot
to
of
wrap
freaking
his
work.
head around where all the kids are going this week, and I'm like, "It's okay, it's written down, I've got it all in my head," so the logistics of being in life, can
Mhm.
even just that can be a lot. So I am so fresh, I'm, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed after this retreat because I had time and space. And
Hmm.
I also recognize that it took me, more than a year to be able to take a few days off. And many
Hmm.
times it feels impossible. And so, as I was reflecting on my own journey and my own experience with my recovery, and then just the women that I coach, many times, if we find a little pocket of time, we don't know what to do with it because we're run so ragged.
Hmm.
It's like, oh, I have a Friday afternoon off, and then it's the time just passes. Maybe you
Right.
plug into social media, or you just don't even know how you want to spend the time.
Yep.
Hmm.
I hear that even, somebody's going to have the day to themselves because the kids are doing XYZ. It's like, I don't even know what to do with myself.
Yeah. What would I do with that time?
What would I do with it? And then the time passes, and then there's another layer of frustration and the feelings around it, whatever the
Hmm.
feelings are for you,
Yep.
that I didn't make the most of it. And so that's really where this gift, I like to think of it as a gift. I've created this how to give yourself a mini retreat. So,
Yeah.
with whatever amount of time you have, I wanted to offer up a framework for thinking through what would be meaningful to you. Because what was meaningful to me this time last year when I was recovering was very different than what I needed this time of year just recently. And
Mhm.
so thanks for teeing that up, because the framework for this is really about giving yourself time to center yourself, tend to your body, quiet your mind, and hopefully see your present circumstances with a little more clarity. Each of the ideas is really meant to invite you to think of it like a menu, like, oh, I'd like a little bit of this and I'd like a little bit of that. And what
Hmm.
Missy wants in this day, or what Jenny would feel most nourished by in that day. It's all meant to be a really personal experience.
Yeah. Suzanne and I did some of the prep work, like started
Hmm.
walking through it just so we would have the framework to talk about it for the show. And what I really love about it, and this is personal for me, is that I realized when going through it, I would like to have a full day every month where I
Mm.
don't have
Mm.
responsibility from breakfast past dinner. And I haven't gone so far as to figure out how that works yet, but I
Hmm.
feel like I need to be out of my house. And then I would like to quarterly actually go away.
Whew,
And
you're more
so I
ambitious than me. I put together a half-hour plan.
Well, I
I
think that's
love it.
great. I think that's great, and I think that's exactly what this does, is for you, you thought, "Okay, half hour is what I need," and as you say that, I think, I would like to go through here and figure out how to put a pause in my everyday.
Mhm.
Just a little pause, but I know for me, I need the escape. Because even when I'm here and I don't technically have responsibilities, like Mark is going to take care of it or whatever, I'm here and I'm thinking about it. what this booklet does, though, so beautifully is give you a way to think through all of that. Like, what does this look like for me? What might it look like on a half-hour time frame? What might it look like if I had a
Yeah.
day? And where would I go if I could go away overnight?
But even more importantly, it forces you to get really intentional about like what you're actually
Very.
retreating from. Did you figure out what you're retreating from?
Yeah.
Are you
Did
able
you?
to share it?
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I did. I want to see what I actually wrote down because I've been thinking about it more even since I wrote it. But something that's been coming up for me lately is I jokingly have been saying, "Oh, I've been tired since 2006,"
Mm-hmm.
but it's not really a joke. Like I've actually been tired since 2005 when that like that parasite moved into my body and took everything when I was pregnant. And I am so ashamed. I talk about this in the show all the time, like so ashamed of feeling tired. And so I really zeroed in on the fact that I want to let go of that shame. And I also want to address the tired. Like I need to retreat from years of exhaustion. I am the person who plans things and organizes things and carries the mental load for more sometimes than even just my immediate family. And so I'm tired. Like
Yeah.
I'm tired and I don't want to be ashamed of admitting that anymore. So that's the big one that I'm kind of escaping from. And then of course the little ones are like the pull of all of my different parts of all of my little jobs. There's just this constant pull. I can't ever fully check out. So I need to
Mm-hmm.
retreat and let all those things go, just whether it's for a half hour or a day or 48 hours, whatever it is. What about you, Suzanne?
Very similar. It was a retreat from over planning and figuring out everyone else's lives instead of my own. And no one's really asked me to do it, but again, I don't know. I'm just kind of over volunteering. It's like when I
Yeah.
did the lost and found rack at the elementary school. Like no one asked
Right.
me to do that. I was just like, oh, that's something I could help with. But yeah, I mean, so my daughter's college stuff. I've been researching all the best art schools for the past year. And then she's like, ooh, physical therapy sounds interesting. And so now I'm researching, like, what does that look like? And I know that part of her becoming a grown woman means that
She
she
has to
needs
do
to
it.
do that. But
Yeah.
I'm also realizing that I'm a almost 50-year-old woman who's had a lot of experience doing this, and I'm really good at it, and it's still hard, which makes me want to do it even more because I'm like, there is just no way we can expect 17-year-olds to be trying to manage the organization process that goes into like planning curriculum design for the next 2 years to address your interest. Like, so yeah, I want her to own a lot of the process, but I feel like there's a ground level of
Well, you're
information
her parent.
that I
And
feel like I can help with to not make everything too overwhelming. And so that puts me into total over planning drive again because I enjoy it. I like researching things, and it's
I
a
love
really
my
easy
spreadsheet.
thing for me to it makes me feel like I'm accomplishing things,
Yep.
and I feel like I'm doing a good job at it because it's what I like to do, and it's like fun for me. I get a little
Yeah.
like I feel like I did something, but I did something that didn't really propel my life
Right.
forward. It helped her, which,
Mhm.
part of that's just being a mom. But I feel like if I put even a fraction of that amount of energy into some of my own initiatives, instead of researching scoliosis, physical therapy, and college majors, that I could do some really cool stuff for myself. So so again, it's not that I want to not do that because I am kind of actually having fun with it and probably whatever, but I do think I need to have an intentional retreat where I put that same attention and care to something for myself.
I love
Boundary.
it.
You need a boundary around that.
Yes.
Louder for those in the back.
I whisper boundary because it's a scary word for me. Like, you need a
Yes.
boundary.
I know boundaries.
Boundaries.
Okay, and
You
what
know,
are you retreating to, Missy?
I don't remember what I decided that I needed to do there.
Well, you know what? I'm so excited because usually I retreat to nature, but it's so dang hard. Like no one
Right.
can retreat to nature in Austin during the summer. It's been
It's funny
so
because I wrote
miserable.
nature and water, but
Yeah.
I don't know where that is.
It's not here. But no, but it became just literally in the past 24 hours, Austin became like the perfect little oasis that
Mhm.
people think it is. And it's just glorious. And I walked two dogs yesterday without sweating. And it was
What?
just
No.
glorious. So I do think that there is the potential to retreat to nature. And oh shoot, I forgot to bring it up. I actually did a retreat a couple of years ago to was it Miraval Spa? Is that what it's
Oh, yeah.
called?
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
And they give everybody this it's called a cell phone sleeping bag. And it's just this little pouch, and it just says, it says cell phone sleeping bag on it. I mean,
Yeah.
it doesn't have a lock on it or anything, but
Right.
it's honor system that you put it in there. And I
Mm.
pulled that out
Ooh.
of my drawer, and I was like, I need to just bring this out because I think I could make kind of that retreat every day by just making the symbolic gesture of putting it in the pouch
Right.
and being like, you can't come out for a while.
Because it even goes with us on our walks, like if I take a
Hmm.
walk, that phone goes with me.
Yeah. Are we pretty basic, Jenny? Are those
Not at
like the
all.
retreat from and retreat tos? Like,
No, no. And I love it because every woman who's listening is going to have something different she's retreating from and something she's retreating to. And that's kind of the point of creating this as a workbook where women can fill in what suits them, an
Mhm.
autofill kind of workbook, as opposed to an article like do these 10 things and then you will have your pause, right? And so
yes.
and you both have kind of spread the gamut because Missy's saying, like, through clarity of going through the exercises, like, I need an escape. I need to be outside of this life I've created just for a moment, just for a day. And I love the vision you have of a monthly pause and a quarterly pause. There's quite a lot of support for that, whether you're looking at it, if you've ever studied the artist's way.
I
Mhm.
was just
Mhm.
I've got a little note about that. Yes.
Yeah, so artist dates
Mhm.
is what it's called in the artist way, and that's actually what I put on my calendar, when I first started doing that was a monthly self day, and so I called it an artist day because it felt a little more important than just holding time on my
Yeah.
calendar, but when it
Oh,
was an
yeah.
artist day or a creative day or a self-care day, it made it a little more special, a little more sacred is probably the right word for it.
Mm,
And
Yeah, I love the
so Miss
idea of naming the day, whatever that is for you, but
yes.
name
Absolutely.
it.
Yes. And so that could be what you're retreating to. It could be, Missy's Sacred Nature Day,
Hmm.
right? And so just kind of getting really clear
Mhm.
and embracing what it is that you want. And the vision that you've just articulated, like you don't necessarily have to know exactly what you're going to do. But if you were to look at it and say, okay, October, let's say you do it a month from today, October 27th is my sacred day, then you can plan on it. You can allow space for yourself. There's something
Mhm.
very magical that happens when we have something special on our calendars just for ourselves. And this really speaks to what you were saying, Suzanne, that everyone else's to-do list becomes yours. Everyone
Hmm.
else's interests
Mhm.
becomes something else for you to explore. And so carving out time just for yourself, whether it's in 30-minute blocks, like your example or Missy's, I'm out of here. I'm taking a day. Both of those have a place. And depending on where someone is in the age and stage of the people that they're caring for, or just what they need for themselves. Because it isn't that when you have little kids, you only get a certain amount of time and big kids, you get a certain. It is really about what's possible and what you can create.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so I love that you two have really different, you're coming at it from different angles, and chances are the more often you give yourself time away just for yourself, that nurturing time for sacred time, it won't feel like self-care like the kind of superficial self-care. This is
Mhm.
deep remembering who I am, telling my soul that I am paying attention, really listening to, the whispers of what I need
Mhm.
and what will help fuel me to do the life that I want to be doing. In many ways, we're living the life we want to live, but those times that really allow us to be more rejuvenated and bring us a lot more clarity than then just keep going, keep going, keep going.
Yeah.
Right.
And now I've done the Artist's Way book, well,
Mhm.
2.5 times, I think. I always get stuck after that media deprivation week.
Yeah.
But
I get
I'm
stuck right before there.
and the artist dates were always the hardest time because one of the things that she says, Julia Cameron says, is that they're not supposed to be productive in any way. And I always
Mm,
tried to make it like a two birds, one stone thing. Like, oh,
right.
well, I'm going to do this relaxing thing here, but I'm also, walking the dog at the same time. And,
Mhm.
or, something that was checking something off a list. And I always run into this, and I'm guessing I'm not alone. There's probably other listeners that feel this way, that taking that break it feels like such a luxury that we
Mm.
don't necessarily deserve or that we haven't earned. Like, my life
Mhm.
is really good. Like, I do not work a paid job. And so there's not that additional stress in my life. And it feels like, who am I to
Who
take a
am I? Mhm.
break when I already technically am, by a lot of people's standards, am like living a break. Like, Missy and I are hardly ladies who lunch. But I think to a lot of the world, stay-at-home moms are pretty much
Mhm.
seen like, what do you have to take a break from? You're on a break all day while I'm at work, or, while I'm doing this paid job. So I do think that it's hard to give yourself permission, like, and say, what am I taking a break from? And knowing that that's a worthy thing.
Mhm. Yeah, that's really deep, and I mean, Missy's nodding, I'm nodding, like, that's really I think it's really universal for a lot of women, whether they are stay-at-home parents or even working parents. I hear this from my, clients who are working, you know, hours and hours on end and then have families. They're saying, "I can't possibly take a break because my family only gets so much of me." And so
Mm,
I think, just let's look at this as kind of the universality of it,
Mhm.
is we only get one life. We are the ones tending to that life. And at the point where we're depleted, whether we have a big job, big title, big salary, big, 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 all these big things over here, and we're judging that as maybe I can earn a break
mhm.
when I've done all those things.
Yeah.
That's a flawed way to look at it. Just as I don't deserve a break because I'm not doing those things. And
Mhm.
so the truth is, and whether this is like, I had to really wrap my head around this because I'm the kind of person who rewards myself once I finish something, like, oh,
Yep.
I'll take a little rest or I'll have a little treat. So this is
Yep.
like kind of you're catching me like in my own evolution is we should not require us to reach a certain milestone or hit a certain something in order to allow for rest.
Mm.
Rest is a part of our lives. Rest is how we will, I mean, it is built into how we live and breathe. We are supposed to pause. And
Mhm.
so the people who say, like, I'll sleep when I'm dead kind of thing, like,
Right.
they're fooling themselves that they don't need, that they won't be more nourished and a better whatever they are, mom and dot, dot, dot,
Mhm.
without tuning in and saying, it would nourish my soul to pause. And sometimes the pause is going to be to move my body with love and exercise and get sweaty and do whatever that is for
Mhm.
her. That's sometimes what the pause is stop all this madness so that I can go sweat and do. And sometimes the pause is going to be resting, a hammock, whatever that is. And so by exploring this, it isn't, I've heard you loud and clear, Suzanne, that when we haven't earned it, we might have this dialogue of who am I to take a break?
Mhm.
How dare I consider, when there's
Mhm.
all of these other things I should be doing or could be doing, or all the women who don't get a break.
Mhm.
But in reality, you not taking a break does not actually give somebody else a break,
Oh, wow. That's
Ooh.
deep.
Ooh.
right?
That's the pillow for this.
That
We're always like, I want a needlepoint that on a pillow. That's this episode's pillow.
Right?
Oh,
There are not finite numbers of breaks. And so
yes.
when Suzanne takes her break, then I get less break. It's not how it works. It's not like pizza. I think I've heard that before. Like everybody,
Yes.
there's not enough pizza, but there is plenty of space for breaks if we're willing to prioritize it. So time, energy are the kind of the two biggest things that I work with people on is we feel like we don't have enough time and we don't have enough energy. And so we can come at this from two different angles. Okay, how can I get more time? Kind of efficiency, habits, those kinds of things,
Right.
which is what we spent one of our previous conversations on.
Mm-hmm.
Another way, which actually for me feels more heart-centric and soul-centric, is how can I manage my energy? And sometimes that's going to be resting. Sometimes, like this for me is incredibly energizing to talk about this stuff. I'm going to be more revved up and excited for everything else that comes in my day because of this conversation. And so for me, talking about and thinking about and loving where women are in this cycle of accepting that they need to rest, looking at what it would be to really fuel their soul, that is energizing for me. Someone else, that'd be like such a beat down. Please don't talk to me about what you need. Right. And so that wouldn't be on her list. Like
Mhm.
connection and deep conversations are on my list for how I want to recharge. Somebody else needs quiet, please. Nothing.
Mhm.
Let me be.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
so this is why there isn't just a one size fits all. There's a one size fits you, and that's what we're talking about here. And that's why coaching, women through this is so much fun. And I really appreciate that you guys took the time to think about what would serve you. And I hope this is an invitation for your listeners to say, what would I do if I had 30 minutes? What would be nourishing for me? It's not
Right.
just what would I cross off the list, because
Right.
I got my to-do list just like you do, just like they do. It's
Mhm.
what would be nourishing.
Yep.
Mhm.
My favorite part of the form is when you actually have my mini retreat will be on this day at this time. I was like, oh, so wait a minute. I thought we were just kind of conceptually talking about things. Now
No.
you're getting
That
serious.
is where I was like, that's kind of where I stopped in
That's
my
very
prep for the
aggressive,
show. is I was
Jenny.
like, oh, I gotta figure that out later.
It's an invitation. You know
It
what? I'm not
is.
going to apologize for it. I'm not going to apologize for it. And in fact, when asked a direct question is often when we show that we're willing to do it. Because you might
Yeah.
say, oh, I could do a 30-minute retreat back to nature, like you said, Suzanne. I could take a break for myself. Great. When do you think you'll do
When?
that?
Yes. I know, that's what I felt. I felt like you were
Mhm.
just staring at me saying that. I was like, "Whoa, I gotta put
Like,
something
I
in this
can't
little blank
actually
here,
answer
and
that.
that's a date I gotta put on my calendar."
Well,
Yeah.
since we're giving ourselves permission, I'm going to give you permission to come back to that.
Yeah.
The invitation stands
Mhm.
that you can do this whenever suits you. And that's actually like my intention is for you to look at this and say, okay, I need time for myself. How can I think about it? How can I create time and space? And you'll know when the time is. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
permission granted to
Oh, no, I'm putting it
Yeah.
on my calendar. Yeah, no,
I am too. And
it's
one of the questions, I don't have it right in front of me, but is something along the lines of like, what do you need to make this happen?
Mhm.
And I realized I need to be kind of loud about it. Like I need to tell the people in my life I'm not available. Like I am not available in this window of time, whether it's 30 minutes, one day, overnight, whatever.
Mhm.
I am unavailable. And all I need to do is look at my husband and say, you are 100% in charge, which he does not have a problem with.
I
I
know.
just need to say it out
That's the
loud.
funny part. Both of our husbands would be like, "Cool."
That
I
was
can
my
play
husband's
I can play
response.
video games
Yeah.
all night. That's amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
and Mark knows how everything works here, maybe better than I do.
Mhm.
Like he's on it. And I don't have any stress or fear of leaving, like that things won't get taken care of. They might not get taken care of the way I would do them, but they're not going to go undone.
Mhm.
And I just need to be loud about it and be proactive and tell people in my life, like, don't text me about whatever the volunteer conundrum of the week is during this block. I'm not going to answer you.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. And, preparing for time away is part of what will make us feel successful, especially those of us who are juggling lots of different roles and responsibilities. So that's why there's a whole section on preparation. Like, what is it that I need to do to be able to unplug so that I'm not tethered to the phone, the phone is in the sleeping bag if you choose. And so I
Yeah.
like how you said that I need to be loud about it. And so if you can, from a loving place, decide what you want to do and be loud about it in the ways that feel good to you. Say, I'm clear that this is what I need and when I need it. And I don't know who mom is for the next 24 hours or whatever
Yeah.
that looks
Mhm.
like for
Yeah.
you.
My mom used to say, I've changed my name today. I'm changing my name today. Not
Oh, I
answering to
love
mom.
it.
Perfect.
Oh, but
Yeah.
I also love how in addition to, it seems common sense that, yeah, I'm going to prepare for who's going to cover the kids or who's going to do this or whatever, but you also address preparing for reentry because that's where I always drop the ball.
Oh,
And I think
me
I
too.
lose a lot of momentum there. So I just think that
Yeah.
it's so smart to just even be conscious of it and know that that's something to be aware
Yeah.
of.
Yeah, the launch and the landing is a big part because, when I was taking myself to my on my retreat this weekend, I have a playlist. I'm a person of rituals, and so one of the things that I do for myself when I'm transitioning from one mode to another is I have a playlist, and there's a lot of Indigo Girls, and it is it's real nice. And so when I'm allowing myself to kind of get from one mode, the mom mode, to the taking care of Jenny mode, I do things to help myself transition. And that landing, kind of, that's what I'm, launching away from the family and landing back into my life. Some of the things that we can do, taking care of dinner ahead of time, or preparing my heart for the house might be a total wreck. I've come home before and the house is a total wreck. And if I were to allow that to disrupt all the good, nourishing and nurturing things, it's almost as if I've sabotaged myself because, to Missy's point, it's not exactly going to go my way. But the mindset, meaning that what happens at home, never really goes exactly my way, but especially not when I'm not in charge of it. And so, the way in which you can land back in your life, if you can think
Mhm.
that through, and even if it's just an acknowledgement, to your point, Suzanne, is like an acknowledgement that I should think through how I want to come back and what's important to me. It can make all the difference because we all, kind of have to, I don't know, there's an interesting, we're not puppies, but we all kind of got to sniff each other again. Like, you're still mine
Mhm.
and let's check back in.
Yes.
Reentry is really not my strong suit at all. Like I struggle with it big time, even when we've all been on vacation together or whatever the thing is.
Hmm.
If I go on a retreat or to a conference, or I'm always on this high from whatever it was, and then I walk in my house and it's like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like it never
So,
happened.
so then, Missy, I would say that very lovingly, that would be where I would encourage you to put a lot of extra effort is thinking through in your preparation. And it
mhm,
may even be a loving note that you write to yourself before leave whatever, little bubble you've created for yourself.
mhm,
Is maybe it's a poem about be accepting what is. Maybe it's something you write for yourself, not something that you call on. But I think putting extra attention on where and that's why this book is so robust, is everybody's going to have different things that they struggle with.
mhm.
And so I appreciate you sharing that, because I know that is or has been true for me, that the landing sometimes it's like crash landing.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and it undoes all the good work you did
Especially
prior.
if you tell yourself it's possible to undo the good work. So that's part of it, right?
Yeah,
Is are you really undoing the work? That might not actually be true.
you're right. It's probably not. It
I
just
So
feels
know.
like
It
it.
just I
it
know.
feels
We're just
like it.
dramatic.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So then so then it might be an affirmation. No matter
Mhm.
what I walk into, this was worth my time and my energy and my love,
Ah,
Yeah.
yes.
right? So
Another pillow.
Another pillow. We're gonna have so many pillows. And then
we're
the
gonna have
dog's
like a
gonna eat
nice
them.
little padded room by the end.
Yeah.
That's probably what I
Just
need.
another thing we probably need.
Oh my gosh. It's so funny because I have a love-hate relationship with like filling things out and having to like go deep and
Yes.
get introspective about things. And I really do feel like, because when Missy first sent me over the PDF, I was like, oh my God, am I going to need like 3 hours and a glass of wine or whatever? But I did like kind of a first go through, and I
Mhm.
felt like it was really the way you put it together. I don't want to say it was fast because I maybe it was just fast with the way my brain automatically responded to it. Like I thought I
Mm,
was going to have to spend like an hour like, what am I retreating from? And like, whatever. And like, I got the answer like
Yes.
that. And it was so fun. Oh my God. I didn't tell you. This should be one of my look, listen, learns. The other day I was doing, it was the vision boarding thing,
Oh,
the
Mhm.
Ama Levita vision boarding thing. And she had I think it was the first day, she had a portion where you were just supposed to kind of like close your eyes, and she kind of walked you through a little guided meditation. And the whole time I felt myself, I have no idea, like angry. And I kept on just having this vision of a stapler. And I was like, what is going on? Like, this has nothing to do with she's talking about. But then as I was like, it was just so there, and I was so fighting against whatever she was trying to get me to do. And I finally realized this stapler was like something that holds things together but adds no value. Like this idea of like this staple, like the only thing it's doing
Mm.
is just holding everything together.
Mm.
It's
Well,
not
I just
like,
got a little chill. Did you see that?
isn't
Yeah.
that so bizarre? And I was like,
Yeah.
it's not adding to the stack of papers. It's not adding to the things that are written. It's just keeping them together. And I
That
was
one
like,
job.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Mhm.
I feel like I am a stapler.
Oh,
Like I'm just holding shit together, but not really adding anything to what's
I
being held
mean,
together.
that's huge, Suzanne.
I
That's
know,
like a
wasn't that
revelation.
crazy? But it's so, sometimes your brain is just, so I do encourage everybody, even if they are hesitant and they feel like, oh,
Mhm.
it's a thing I need to fill out and think about. Literally, to get the like 90% of the value out of it took about 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm so glad to know that.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I kind of went through it again. I was like, okay, let's, think about that a little more or whatever. But just, I mean, don't feel like it's something that needs to be really intimidating and that you need to
No.
like build out a day. It's just such a common sense little flow, and each little thing leads to the next. So your brain's already kind of snowballing. It just has this nice
Mhm.
effect to it. And yeah, it's that I just like boom, boom, boomed it, which
It's
I'm
very
so glad to know
approachable.
that. And that happens a lot when we're on the edge of a deep discovery or uncovering something that's really true for us. Emotions show up. Like
Mhm.
I'll be in a coaching, like you said, I don't know where this anger came from. I'll be in a coaching session and somebody's like, I don't know why my eyes are leaking.
Yes.
And our emotions are telling us this is important. And we may
Mm.
not always be connected to, we may not be able to explain in our heads, why is this important? Why am I crying? Why am I angry? Why am I so tight right here?
Mhm.
This
Mhm.
tells us it's important. And
Yeah.
so, I will not be surprised. In fact, I would welcome it if this experience of creating a mini retreat causes emotion.
Mhm.
Hopefully good ones. I mean, I'd love to boosting happiness is where I want to be. But if someone has not had a moment to herself, or that's the story she's saying, she's repeated since 2006, is she's real
Right.
tired and she hasn't had any time thinking about this might bring up grief, anger, frustration, resentment. Those things are real. And if we think of them as information, this is information. It can
Mm.
tell us this is important.
Mm.
So I encourage people to allow space for those feelings. Ideally, they'll be able to flow through just like you did, Suzanne, and let yourself be led. There was a lot of love that was put into this so that it's just deep enough to get us where we need to go.
Mhm.
But emotions tell us when something is really important. And it will not surprise me. And in fact, I'll welcome knowing about if this evokes some deep emotions for
Mhm.
some women, because it did for me when I first started considering. I couldn't possibly take time. I can't take time. Everybody else gets to take time. That whole little
Mm.
chatter that we might have from years ago. And I've spent
Mhm.
years unhooking myself from that belief system. So I appreciate you telling me how helpful it was to walk through this and the flow you felt while you were doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everything's felt really smart. Smart and
Yes.
easy.
With purpose. The whole thing
Yeah.
is with purpose and not there's not a wasted word in it. I mean,
Yes,
it's a
it's
very
very
brief
efficient.
workbook.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
very efficient. Like, again, I thought it was going to be this okie dokie, let's, carve out a day to do it. And yeah, efficient in the sense that for how short it is, it does a
Yeah.
lot.
It does a
Yeah.
Mm.
lot.
Oh, well, we got to tell
So
people where to find it.
I was going to say, we've got to tell people where to find
All
you
the-
and the book, because we're closing in on, we need to do like speed, look, listen, learns. But yeah, tell us where to find you and how to get this workbook, because it's free.
It's free. And that was actually by design because I feel like more of us need to know how to tune into ourselves and take care of ourselves. So this is available for free on my website, which is jennyremington.com. You can also find me on Instagram, and all of this will be on the show notes, I know.
Yeah.
This is a free downloadable workbook, and I just hope it gets into the hands of lots of women, and we have more women who are taking time, whether it's the 30 minutes or the artist date for themselves, or even go on retreat. I want to know about that. People who can carve
Yes.
out more time for themselves. So
Oh, and I'm really hopeful within the Facebook community, people will be willing to share their planning for
Yeah.
it and the results of it.
oh,
So
that'd be
I,
great.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that would be really fun for everybody and hopefully inspiring for some who maybe haven't thought about how to work it into their lives, and someone might have some really good suggestions.
So, well, I think it's look, listen, learn time. And if anyone's new here, welcome. Thank you for being here. At the end of every episode, we do about 15 minutes of look, listen, learns, what we're reading, watching, doing. Sometimes they're silly, sometimes they change your life. It runs the gamut. And we don't ever like to put our guest in the hot seat first. So, Suzanne, what
Even
are
though
you
she's a pro at
listening,
it by
learning? Yeah,
now.
she is a pro. We
3
could have made her
visits,
go
she knows.
first.
Oh, let's see. Well, told you I learned I'm a stapler. No, so I've been carrying this book around forever, and it's kind of one of those things where you just want to give it the time it deserves.
Yep.
And I didn't want to just kind of be choppy, here and there reading it. So I wanted to finish up a bunch of books that I was choppy reading. But KJ Delantonia is in her boots. KJ was our guest, episode 14? She was way back there.
Yeah, she's an OG like Jenny.
She is an OG. And yeah, because that was the Chicken Sisters book.
Just back here.
Which was one of the Reese Witherspoon's book picks. But the reason we had her on was to talk about the benefit of coaching. For both of these books, even though she was a professional writer, I mean, she was the editor at the New York Times Well Family section for ages, she hired a coach to help her write these books. And even after writing the book that got on the Reese Witherspoon list, she still used a coach for the next book.
Yeah.
And really wanted to knock down this idea that there's some shame in feeling like you need a coach. And even experts can benefit from coaching. And she definitely must have got either she is the expert or she had the expert coaching, because in her boots, she does such a nice job of it's kind of cozy, nice stories. Like there's nothing, no one's getting murdered, like everything. But there's just enough drama that it's such a page turner. Like
and there's just enough drama that I don't love conflict. And so I know a book is well done when it makes me a little uncomfortable.
Yes.
It's just enough drama that I'm like, oh, I kind of want to race through that part to get out of the conflict. That's good.
But you care enough about the characters that you just want to be like, I just want to make sure they're okay in the next chapter.
Exactly.
Like, I just want to make sure she's okay. And she's really, really good at that, because I read at night and I usually listen to books. So if I am reading a book, if I get more than one page, that's like a real success.
That's impressive.
And I have to cut myself off. And I go for a full chapter every night, which is like bonkers for me. So that says a lot about being able to keep my attention and keep me awake. So really highly recommend. It's fun, fun, fun. Light with just enough touch of drama to keep you going in conflict. And then listening, went to my son played band. His band did a middle school football game last night, which they don't typically do, but he's got a new band director this year. And he's really, like, last week he took them to a high school competition where all the bands compete against each other. And then they went and did this. I think it's just a nice way. It's almost like a little internship to see, if that's something he'd like to commit to in high school, doing the band type of thing. So that was really fun, just getting to listen to that. And then, like I said, I have learned that my resident artist daughter, who we've been researching art schools for the past year, now is exploring the idea of physical therapy, which I think she would be amazing at. And I think it's so funny when you think about everybody says that art and science, they
Oh,
kind of put them together. But
for sure.
it does, but it seems like the most unnatural thing, that, oh, she's this amazing
Her
artist, but
brain works both
also
together.
wants to do like chemistry and, physics and all this stuff.
Yeah.
But I had no idea how much work is involved in becoming a physical therapist. And I do not think that I have given them the respect that they deserve. I think because they're always like in sweats and workout stuff. you know,
You thought of him like a personal trainer.
yeah, I'm sure a lot goes into personal training too, but I mean, it is practically doctor. I mean, they are called, it's a
Doctor,
doctorate
doctor of PT. Yep.
level. She's like, no, I can't perform. Because today I had my son's physical therapy for his Schroth therapy, and so I mentioned this to her. I was like, I did not realize, like, I don't know. I thought you went and got like a bachelor's degree, and then maybe you did like a 9-month
Mm.
training program or something. But this is like full out, like doctorate level physical therapy, just because these people are in their sweatpants and, stretching your legs around. Like, yes,
It's a
call
good
them
program.
doctor. I told her, I said, I'm calling you Dr. Sarah from now on. Like, this is like, you're
I
not
looked at
just
going back to
Sarah.
school for it when my kids were little because I think it's a fascinating area too. And I was
Yeah.
like, I don't have that much time to do that kind of school. Like maybe I'll
Mhm.
go back to school for it when they're not living here anymore.
Oh my gosh. Well, because you have to have all the prerequisite stuff too.
I
So you
have
have
to,
to
and
have
I'm an
all that.
English major. A lot of prereqs I have to go back and get.
Yes. So anyway, so that again, I have learned that I have not been giving my physical therapist the due respect for the amount. Not that you should only respect people who have gone to school for 7 years in a row or 8 years, I guess. But holy cow, hats off
Yeah,
to
it's
y'all.
big.
Good job. What about you,
All right.
Jenny? Do you
Yeah,
have any
you're up,
lesson
Jenny.
learned?
Yes, yes. Well, now that I'm a pro, I've been actually thinking about this for a while. So my look is actually she's been around a while, but Cleo Wade is a poet and an author. You can find her on Instagram. And this book, it's just a tiny little book, but it's like little nuggets of goodness.
Ooh.
Um, and so her the tagline on the book is a small book about your power to create big change in our crazy world. And
Oh, she
We
needs to
need
be a
it.
guest.
Yes.
Okay.
I think she'd be wonderful. And so I've been following her on Instagram, and actually, it was given to me as a gift from someone I love. And we have really different political views. And
Oh.
something she posted on my loving family member posted, I had just read something very loving and very non-judgmental from Cleo in this book, and I was just like, what a gift. What a gift that right as I needed to not get all tied up in my and precious about my beliefs to have someone, challenge
Mhm.
me just out in the world. And so this was a real gift. So Cleo Wade was my look. And for listen, have you guys heard about the Miss R project on TikTok?
No.
Okay,
Mm.
so I have to confess, I'm not really on TikTok except for to stalk a few people that I like, but I've now become obsessed and I am checking in with this teacher, Maddie Richardson, and she
Okay.
teaches a 90-second social emotional learning lesson to her
Ooh.
fifth and seventh grade science class. And they are
Oh.
epic. Like, she's amazing. And so I'm sitting down at breakfast with my kids and giving them a 90-second TikTok from Miss Maddie Richardson. And so it's
Oh,
it's really
great.
good stuff. It's about empathy, it's about how your brain works, social emotional. One of my favorite ones was how to not be a friend. We spend so much time on what we expect of kids, but
Yeah.
not everyone is your cup of tea. And so how do these forming brains
Ooh.
work out how to be around other kids who are not like them and they don't really like. So her rules
Yes.
for you have to be kind. Everyone has a right to be here, but you don't have to
To be
love and like
besties.
everyone. Don't have to be
Yeah.
besties. And so it's very applicable, like the fifth and seventh grade science lesson, on social emotional learning. Like I'm like, yeah, I'm with you. So
Yes.
Absolutely.
that's wonderful. And learn. I just signed up. I'm at the very beginning of my lessons I'm taking a neuroscience of change class. And so it's a
Ooh.
coaching program around how our brains work, and I'm totally digging it. So maybe next time I'll have some new information for you there. But it's about embodied coaching, somatic learning, and how we can really use our bodies as information sources, not just the stories we tell ourselves. So
Oh, wow.
Oh,
Missy, that
you
sounds like
know, I'm
something you
like,
should sign up for.
or I will just go to Jenny and she will coach me that way and fix me.
Yeah, you give
either
us the
or.
90-second TikTok version of whatever you learn.
Yeah, that's that's
Yeah.
that's where it's a good place to start. So
Oh, that sounds fascinating.
Okay, what about you,
Hey,
Missy?
y'all had a really good look, listen, learn today, and I don't have much today. My look is I have been catching up on Never Have I Ever season 3.
Oh,
Have y'all
yeah.
watched that?
Is that the
I
Mindy
haven't.
Kaling?
Yes. Yes. I guess she's the producer, or maybe she created it. I don't know, but she is attached to the show
Okay.
somehow. But I mean, it's a story about a high school girl and her family and her love interests, and it's narrated by John McEnroe, which I find hysterically funny. He's narrating
For a
this
girl?
high school girl's life. It's really, really funny, and his narration is pretty. It's pretty
Spot on.
ridiculous at times.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, so I watch it for that is what I started watching it for, and of course now I'm really attached to Debbie and her life and what's going on, and it's super cute.
Is it an all
Um,
ages show?
yeah, I was thinking about it when I was watching it yesterday, because there is a lot of high school sex, which makes me feel like a really old lady watching it. But I'm like, should I be
Is it
watching?
like Friday Night Lights when you're like, wait a minute?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, I totally like it's kid friendly, but I feel like it would open up a lot of discussion. And of
Got it.
course, with a high schooler and soon to be high schooler in my house, I have a lot. I want to do this. We're really open in those discussions, but I also don't want to be sitting there with them going, look at them talking about their high school sex.
Oh, they
Anyway,
probably watched Euphoria. Watch out for that one.
yeah, yeah. So this is, I mean, it's all very sweet and innocent, really. It's not, but there's mean kids and high school shenanigans.
Okay, we're gonna have to
That's
check
good.
that out.
But I've been watching that, and then my learn that I was going to talk about today, we mentioned it actually a couple episodes ago. I don't know at this point when this episode airs where that was, but you brought up the hashtag am writing series, the 10 episode series
Mm-hmm.
on how to like build your book blueprint, basically. And I have been doing an episode at a time and then doing the homework assignment with that
See,
for
now
this.
that's the good part. You actually did the homework assignment. I
Yeah.
thought about the homework assignment.
Well, I'm behind, of course. I thought I was going to do it like 10 days in a row, and I did not do it 10 days in a row. So I'm behind, and I skipped some days in there, and so I have to go back. But it's so helpful, like doing the homework and thinking through this new book idea I have. I feel like I'm leaps and bounds ahead of where
Yeah.
I was the last
Oh,
time I
that's
wrote
so
a draft of
cool.
a book.
Good
Yeah,
for you.
so I will post. I think we've already posted it, but I will post the link to those episodes because it's not their most recent 10 episodes, but pretty close.
Yeah, I just found it's just like this workbook that you've put together, Jenny, and the fact that they're willing to do those 10 episodes dedicated to helping people. And I know,
It's
you know,
great.
at
It's
the
the kind
end
of
they're also
information
trying to
you get
yeah.
at like a writing workshop.
And it's just so generous and it's
Yeah, it's
so
very generous.
valuable and I mean, it's shocking the things that are available and at our disposal if we actually just take advantage of them. So I really do hope that everybody is going to download the workbook. Do not be
Yes.
intimidated. Do not pull a Suzanne
No.
and get scared from it because it really is, it's a gentle, loving
Yeah,
experience. And I think it is, yeah, I mean, as far as I don't want to say bang for your buck because it's free, but as far as just
that's a
like
lot of bang for your buck.
as far as like what I was able to get out of it in such a quick amount of time, I just found it really tremendously valuable.
It's called How to Give Yourself a Mini Retreat.
And I'm doing it. I'm putting it on my calendar.
Me too. We'll have to report back as
Yeah.
Please
accountability
do.
that we actually did it.
Yes.
Please do. Maybe on the Facebook group or in another
Yeah.
future episode, tell us about how it goes.
Ooh, let's decide on a hashtag right now that everybody can do if they take a picture of like
Okay.
while they're out on their retreat.
What about my mini retreat?
Oh my, that's what I was just thinking.
My mini retreat. Okay.
All right. That is going to be the hashtag.
So we're going to use that for whenever we're doing anything retreat related. And
Yeah.
and we'll
Perfect.
search on there to see if any of the listeners are doing it too.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, we could keep you for 3 days straight
I know.
and never finish, but we've been at it over an hour. So I think we need to wrap it up and let you go back to your life.
This has been so great. Thanks for having me back. I mean, I obviously love to talk about self-care, and I loved visiting with you guys and sharing what I work on. And I'm glad it landed so well with you too.
Well, thank you.
That's
And I just feel like this was the most perfect timing. Like, this is what I needed from the universe right now, and perfect timing. So the serendipity
funny how
of
that
it
works.
Yes. Yeah. So thank you for your generosity and your time, and
Yes.
for giving us this workbook.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for joining us for the Mom and ... podcast. We hope you enjoyed the show today. And if you know someone else who could benefit from today's episode, be sure to share it with them. Also, please subscribe and rate us wherever you listen to podcasts. You can find links to all the things we discussed today in the show notes over at our website, momandpodcast.com, with the AND spelled out. In between shows, you can find us at the socials, including our private Mom and Community Facebook group. You can find links to the group, all of our socials, and our questions and comments section over at our website, momandpodcast.com. Thank you so much for your support. We appreciate you so much. Now go out there and make your ellipses count.